What's up? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, and I can hear you very, very well.
Uh-oh, is that
So,
mean too loud?
no, nothing snarky there. Sorry. So the this is pick your poison day, and so we're going to talk two topics. You get to choose which, and you don't have to have any expertise. I know you haven't been following the Blake Lively thing. I don't know about the Epstein thing, but which
I
one do
thought
you
so.
want to start with? Epstein and Trump or Blake Lively?
Well, I thought Blake Lively was over. So that shows how much I know.
Well, so there were two things going on. Hold on, I'm going to bring a picture up too here.
Sure.
There were two things going on. There was the Blake Lively's lawsuit, Me Too lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, and
Right.
then there was Justin Baldoni's lawsuit, basically a similar thing to what Johnny Depp did, what Marilyn Manson tried to do, for defamation and extortion, and that sort of thing. And so what happened is, I mean, that there are these laws now, anti-SLAPP laws, and even stricter now, sort of Me Too oriented laws, statutes, whereby judges basically are encouraged and empowered to strike these types of defamation suits, usually from men, about as fast as they can. And so what happened
Yep.
is that Blake Lively's lawsuit, it is still ongoing, but the lawsuit against Baldoni, basically it got more or less gutted, and so he had to drop it. Do you have any opinion, as someone who has studied law, about this situation that we're at right now, with this kind of thing, with Me Too, and with the inability to prove defamation in court if you're a man in these situations?
Yeah, I do. Funny story. My defamation suit against me was just dropped. Let's see, a couple days
Who
ago.
was suing? Who was suing you? Because our audience might not know. You don't have to give your
Yeah.
whole saga. No worries.
No,
But
it's fine. This very very strange individual, kind of an artifact of the internet called Montagraph,
okay.
who he was somehow involved in the John Benet Ramsey stuff. He had created this movie, which some people referred to as a snuff film, which makes him particularly angry. I don't know why, but basically, it was like an independent film, and it involves the kind of implied torture and of an implied minor character. There's not a lot of dialogue in it, but
Wait, is it fictional? Is it a fictional thing? Or you're
yes,
saying,
it's not.
oh,
It's
okay.
not true. Like it's not a
Okay.
real thing. But
Gotcha.
the way it's filmed is and presented as if it's like almost like you know they found the footage after they got the killer type thing. And
Okay.
so a lot of people had called him various names from that. And in I had gotten introduced to him back in 2019 or something like that, and then he kind of fell off my radar for a while. He came back in 2022 when I got banned from YouTube for 3 days, and like my entire channel was deleted. That was great. And he like claimed credit for that, even though I don't think he had much to do with it. And then
What do you think was the primary catalyst for that, for you getting banned at that point?
oh, so I was attacked by the trans army.
Oh, yes, because you have, like a lot of people that I know, you have, very controversial at times opinions, or that may not be controversial to most people, right? But at least to some
Yeah.
people online, to a fringe online, and they really went after you, huh? Shit.
They would, like, when I say they went after me, there's the one of the I don't know how to describe them. It's a trans professor at Harvard Law,
Okay.
Alejandra Caballero. He, whichever one. I don't know their preferred pronouns. Whatever. They came after me, like they encouraged people. I got 44 ethics complaints on the same day.
Oh, it's one of those mass
and
flagging, mass reporting, yeah.
yes, and the primary person was this person named Keffels, who's been involved in lots of internet stuff, and they were really offended because I had said Keffels was funding someone and supporting someone who was teaching children how to make estrogen supplements in their own bathtubs, like their home chemistry. So
Oh,
they would
that
be
sounds
able.
safe.
Right. So they would be able to inject themselves with hormones without the guidance of a doctor and without the input of their parents was the idea. Like that was the whole purpose. And I said, like I don't care if people are trans or not. I really don't. Whatever you want to do to your body is fine once you're an adult. But we have laws that say you can't do that. So I said, leave kids alone. And I said, or get on the wall with the pedophiles. They apparently
they took that badly.
Yeah, they thought I said that. Actually, they came out and lied because I am actually a person who espouses nonviolence, but they came out and said that I said get on the wall and get shot, which I did not say.
Yeah, they people like that like to twist things. I was gonna say they probably said, "Oh, he called us pedophiles and said that we need to be killed." Yeah.
No, I was saying they just should hang out with the pedophiles on the wall.
See, there's there's all of these corners of the internet that I never know about until I sometimes will see like someone like you sort of clapping back, and I'll be like, what the hell is this?
I have a habit of not really bowing to giant
You're a lightning rod
people either. Like I just I'm gonna say what I want to say, and I don't know. There's a simple answer. If you don't like it, just don't watch. It's really easy.
Right. Right. No, yeah. That's true. So, okay. So Blake, so you said you sued. How were you sued yourself though? Explain.
Okay. So, long story short, this person took credit for it, even though it wasn't them who did it.
Okay.
And so I made fun of them on a live stream. I hadn't talked about this person in years. I hadn't thought about them in years, and they came in. So I just made fun of them a whole bunch. Called them a bunch of names that they didn't really like. And so then they filed a defamation suit, which was completely bogus the entire time. Minnesota does not have an anti-slap law, or did not at the time the lawsuit was filed. We do now. We didn't have an anti-slap. So I did have to go through litigation.
It lucked out. That sucks for you. Yeah. At the time.
Yeah. And it was 2.5 years long. I'm torn. Anti-slaps are like
because it helped you. It would have helped you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It would have ended the suit. And the main difference is we would have gotten to summary judgment at some point. But we didn't get there. And anti-slaps are kind of they're examined in Minnesota in the same way as summary judgment is. And so we would have gotten to summary judgment and we probably would have prevailed. But without an anti-slap law, we had to go through discovery first. And that's the most expensive thing on the planet. And so, like discovery production for me was to go through literally every tweet, every email, every text message. I had to find, any mentions of this lawsuit or this guy for 6 years. And I had to compile all that and provide it, plus every YouTube video in which I mention him or the lawsuit, which there aren't that many, but I've made over 2,200 YouTube videos.
So you had to comb through those basically?
I would have. I didn't actually get to that step because they backed out. But it's like, so then not only that, but I would have to provide this to attorneys who then go through it, which will take, hundreds of hours. My attorney costs a lot, somewhere in the neighborhood of $650, $700 an hour.
Yeah, they're expensive now. They are. I mean, they've always been expensive, right? But inflation, like everything else.
Yeah. And so it's like, the amount of time and money that got spent on this lawsuit was catastrophic. But at the same time, my alternative was to what? Apologize for not doing the thing that I was accused of doing. Right. And I believe in speech. So I took it. I was willing to take it through to the end, but he came and said, I'm out of money. Can we drop this? And I said, okay, sure. Like, go, you lose now, I guess. So go away. But it would have helped me. But at the same time, I kind of championed the Vic Mignogna story. And at that point, an anti-slap was really negative and it prevented him from having the ability to say his piece as he was getting Me Too'd in his career that he'd worked 20 years as a voice actor and was well regarded in the community. And his career was destroyed in a matter of days by the Me Too movement. And so, I don't believe that anti-slap was fair in his case. He presented a valid case. He had one. And there were some legal missteps that were made by his lawyers, and that's very unfortunate.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but to see it in situations like this, like Baldoni's situation or in the Me Too situations, it's really frustrating because it is a tool to actually silence the person that you are destroying. And it's like, wait a minute, like there's clearly reputational harm going on. There's their career destruction is happening. That's publicly obvious.
Right.
Maybe there should be some caveat to where we can go, okay, like an anti-slap in this situation maybe isn't the right call. I mean, an anti-slap where someone is out there literally trying to silence someone who's speaking and having public opinions, fine. We understand why that's good. But I don't really understand how you can overtly destroy someone and then hide behind an anti-slap after that. That's a little crazy.
It really is kind of I don't know if you are a Star Trek fan, but it's like a Kobayashi Maru situation
Right.
where it puts it, whether you have anti-slap and those types of protections or you don't, either way, it's going to put one group or another at a great disadvantage. And so it really, and I saw this when I was when I was trying to write an amicus brief to the judge, because I don't know if you know this or not, but there were all of these amicus curiae briefs that flooded this judge from special interest groups that were basically in bed with Blake Lively. And
Right.
so anyway, so I was trying to write something basically, just to make a statement, and ended up, I submitted mine. It didn't go to the right place. And then the thing got dismissed. So I'm still trying to figure out what to do with it. But long story short, I might make it into an essay or something. Long story short, though, I really did see how the crux of the problem theoretically is that if you don't have the anti-SLAPP stuff and these types of protections, then you're going to have more legitimate victims, women who are having to suffer through retaliatory defamation claims. If you do, though, then you have situations like we're seeing with so many of these falsely Me Too guys, whether we're talking about Baldoni or the case that I followed a long time, the Marilyn Manson situation, where he also got a very early dismissal. Unfortunately, the judge gutted his case under anti-SLAPP. So it's a pickle, but it's
maybe the solution should come with a pretrial finding on the the relative, we'll say the comparative power of the parties, right? Because Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni are probably similarly situated in their access to income and their access to publicity. So they're two people who maybe should have their case heard on the merits. The point of an anti-slap was to prevent originally was to prevent an empowered party from silencing a disempowered party with a defamation suit. So someone who was wealthy or had access to the legal system against someone who was not able to do that. So then you could beat them down and wear them down with money.
Right.
And so maybe there is a solution to be found in sort of this using the public figure doctrine as kind of like a barometer. You could say, okay, these are both public figures. They both have equal access to publicity. They have platforms where they can, kind of go at each other publicly. The thing about defamation is, in particular, with claims of domestic violence or violence against women or whatever, is that the claims themselves, when made to the authorities, are protected absolutely from defamation. So Blake Lively could go to the police and say whatever she wants against Justin Baldoni, and so long as she was being truthful to the point where they weren't going to prosecute her for lying to police or making a false report, then she could say anything. At all, and he could not sue her for defamation. It's the moment that these campaigns become public battering rams, right? That the defamation starts to come in, and you can say that it's either from nefarious people or maybe they just get wrapped up in the power that it's giving them to go after. I
think a lot of people get carried away too. Now, in Blake Lively's case, I think it's like Amber Heard. You have like a documented, extensive history of like this premeditated action over a course of a year or more. But I mean, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, since we do have not a whole lot of time, I appreciate you being here. What are your thoughts? I've not even seen you post on this really. What are your thoughts on the Trump thing, whether do you think he's in the files? Do you think there's something that he's trying to cover up about himself? Do you care? Is this something that his supporters should care about? What do you think of his PR rollout for all this? Any of these things?
Well, it's been a PR disaster. He's the problem with engaging I'm going to call them the conspiracy community, and I don't mean that in a condescending way, but when people engage in sort of going down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theory, there's a propensity for dogmatism, right? Like they get fixated on what the answer must be, and if the answer is anything different, then that's a problem. And what they will often do is use confirmation bias to, and we see the same thing in defamation claims with major celebrities, right? Johnny Depp had a crew, and then Amber Heard had a crew. Same thing here. Trump had a crew with MAGA and kind of engaging that the government participant conspiracy audience, and he courted them and used them to get elected. Then he didn't deliver on the government conspiracies. The JFK files are released and they say, oh yeah, the government narrative is correct. It's like, okay. And then the Epstein files like exist and then don't exist. And then it's like, well, there's nothing really. And then there's not even that interesting. I don't know if Trump's on them or not.
So many permutations too is one of the things that just drives me nuts. I'm sorry. Go ahead though.
No. My friend Dick Masterson was talking about it, and he said, look, if you look at this, you've got a bunch of really bad people who are potentially on this list, who are engaged in the most awful sort of human trafficking that's going on. And then you also have, how he described it was, you have some guys cheating on their wives, and they're high profile, and like they want to protect that as much as possible. And there's nothing necessarily illegal about what they're doing, but mixing those two groups up. And then of course you have this third group of people, which there are people who have claimed to be in this third group and believe them or not. Trump being one of them, Alan Dershowitz being one of them, Bill Gates. Like I was there, but I didn't participate in any of the, like the sexual stuff or, the
illegal stuff, minors.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
They flew on the plane, but they never went to the island type stuff. And it's like, yeah, did you have a girl on the plane though? Because if it's a private jet, you can do cool stuff, I guess. But it's like, I unwinding between those three groups is tough. And if you start releasing the names of people who are associated with Jeffrey Epstein, even if they were never involved in any of the illegal activity, they're going to be implicated in the illegal activity by the public. And that could be extremely damaging to people who have a lot of money and influence. And we may not like that we won't get those answers, but it also doesn't make sense to just allow open season on people who are innocent because one subset of that group decided to not be innocent. And that's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. As for me, I mean, I don't care. Trump's interesting to me, not because of his politics, but because of the sort of chaotic atmosphere he creates within the government and the, the intra-branch
disruptor. Yeah.
I want the Supreme Court to answer questions that we wrote down 255 years ago in the Constitution, and we still don't know the answer to. Like, that's baffling to me that we haven't explored.
What's an example of that?
Like the pardon power. Can the president pardon himself? Is a really good question. And then that goes hand in hand with presidential immunity. If the president can pardon himself, he effectively does have presidential immunity. And the pardon power, as examined by the court, has been determined to be a plenary authority of the president. And so you can go with, which means he's the only person who, the president himself has sole authority. The courts can't even question it. Mm-hmm. So if the courts can't question it, he can probably pardon himself. But then Trump asked the courts to question Biden's pardoning because of the alleged use of an auto pen, even though Trump's used an auto pen too. But the court telling the president he can't use an auto pen is probably unconstitutional because it's the plenary authority of the president to do so. So it's like this really...
You sound like someone who went to law school.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine. I get what you're saying.
I try to keep the vernacular as jargon free as possible, but no. So it raises these really complex questions, and then those questions are actually in the Federalist Papers. Alexander Hamilton is writing about the pardon power, and he's like, yes, that means that if the president employs people to cheat in an election, he can then get elected and pardon them. That is the point of the pardon power. It is supposed to be that broad because we've created political solutions for this through, impeachment effectively, and the president can be removed, and he will be, if nothing else, he'll leave office after 4 years, and you cannot vote for him again. So there were solutions that were baked in, and it's like we don't want every president to be considered a criminal because if we really let it go, they've all done criminal acts in the eyes of their opposition. And so once you do that,
and in reality, I think
right,
too,
yes,
right?
they're all terrible. My personal opinion is that all politicians should have term limits, and at the end of their term, they should be forced to hang themselves.
Well,
I'm kind of an extremist on
well,
that.
they're also complicated. They're complicated people. Even the ones that people like, that their side likes, or that are the ones that are more effective. And this is one of the things. I'm no history expert, but this is one of the things that's so interesting, I think, about studying presidential history is like, let's start with Kennedy, for example. I mean, today he would probably have been charged with rape, I believe, based on reading what's come about his private life. And he definitely did some shady things when he was in office. Then, we've got LBJ, we've got Nixon. Do we even have to go there? I guess maybe Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter, they were maybe a little more spotless.
Carter probably wasn't a criminal.
But he was also ineffectual, right? So.
I was about to say he's also roundly regarded as one of the least effective presidents of all time. Like he's a good guy in the sense, morally speaking, but he didn't do what our country needed him to do, and he was not brought back specifically because of that. And
right. And I think that's what a number of people also who in the MAGA movement or Trump supporters who are persisting in defending him are saying is that, look, we have to live in the real world, and maybe he is doing something, he's protecting something shady. Maybe this has been rolled out terribly in terms of PR and messaging. Maybe he is gaslighting us in some way, but what's the alternative? Yeah. And this is the guy. Sometimes you may need a dirty motherfucker to get things done. I'm not saying that, right? I'm one of the ones who's like, come on, give me a break, man. That Truth Social post was fucking ridiculous.
It was. It was very ridiculous.
We'll read it in a minute, but go on.
To go into your point about sometimes you need a dirty motherfucker, who agrees with you is God, right? If you go back and you look at the main figures of the Old Testament, I was talking with my father-in-law, and he just out of nowhere, he's like, God used some really, really shady people. And it's like, yeah, like these guys, but they were men of action. They were, men of import, and they had to be a little crazy to do the things that God was asking. You can go up to David, who ran a protection racket without anybody's asking him to, and then stole everything from the people afterwards.
I said something on Twitter the other day I was making a joke about David, and I was like, the guy who cheated, or the guy who basically stole another man's wife and then had that dude killed, right?
He does that, and that's the popular story, right? But prior to during David's exile, he gets a band of 600 men, and they run a protection racket over people's flocks of sheep. No one asked them to. They just did it. And then they would go to the houses of the sheep owners, and they would demand food and supplies for they're literally like a mafia.
Like mafia people.
Yeah, it's amazing. And he does this to one guy, and the guy's like, I'm not giving them food. I didn't ask them for anything. Like, thanks for keeping my sheep alive, but I don't even know that bandits were attacking or whatever. Well, David gets so mad at being turned down that he takes 400 of his men with swords to go and murder every man of the house and take the women.
Oh, man.
That was the plan. But the wife of the guy stops David and says, no, here's the feast and stuff. And then we're told that God kills that guy within 10 days. And then David marries that guy's widow. Like that, which was his third wife, which it's like, this dude's a monster.
No, it's true though.
He
It's true.
was.
There's so many monstrous things, and it's not just in the Old Testament. I have to say,
No.
nothing against Jesus, but there's some other things in the New Testament that are they're pretty disturbing too. But like, no, you're right. And life is complicated. Life is brutal. I just finished rereading the novel Blood Meridian. Not to be pretentious here, but for people who know this novel,
I've read a
it's
book.
yeah. So you're an educated man. No, but like it's the thing that you see in Cormac McCarthy's writing where they're talking about No Country for Old Men, or we're talking about that book, or The Road, is
Mhm.
is the potential for utter depravity on the part of human beings when we go into a more natural or animalistic state or an
Yes.
emergency state, right? And so I get what people are saying with Trump. It's like, is Epstein really the hill you want to die on? But I also say that this just sticks in the craw for too many people. There is something, whether it's rational or irrational, about people. He's got to do a better job. Trump has to, in terms of the messaging. He needs to come out, in my opinion, and in a very sober speech, he needs to talk about, okay, I get why people are upset. Here are some reasons, even if he can't tell everything. Here are some reasons why we're not bringing this out. We don't have this. Explain some stuff, and not just
Yes,
say, "You idiots, hey gals, what's up with my guys and my gals? Give me a break."
I agree with that. But the other thing, and this is tough for the MAGA community particularly, but you have to remember that Trump is a lame duck president. He is done after this term. He no longer needs to be reelected, and there's value in that. You want your president to get to the second term because you want the policy decisions that might not be the most popular or might have a real impact on the country, but a negative impact on the politics or the political aims of the person. He has the opportunity to do that now. And with that comes swallowing some hard pills. And the Epstein thing, as much as it's, we want to know, because it's a horrific thing that occurred, and we know a horrific thing occurred. Like, we know that happened. We want the details. We want to know the network of it. We want to make sure it doesn't happen again, on one hand. But on the other hand, when you're talking about what the president is doing, should the president be focusing on the Epstein situation when we have an economy that's at risk of, capsizing at any moment, when we have interest, we're on the verge of war with Iran, potential war with Russia. We have we have China nipping at our heels constantly, and those are the purview of the president. Epstein is the purview of the FBI. And so the FBI operates under the executive branch. And the executive branch is weird because it has a bunch of executive authority attached. The president is kind of detached from it, even though he's their boss. And he is a little bit of a separate figure from what the executive branch is doing. And so it's like, we have this opportunity with Trump to use a lame duck president who has demonstrated real ability to enter the global stage like no other president has, and to resolve conflicts in ways that are unorthodox and potentially unpopular. But I mean, for example, calling it the Gulf of America is the funniest thing you could possibly do. But it also, it changes the political structure of the water. It's a claim of ownership and
The
right.
dominance move too. I mean,
Right. And then it was also a negotiation tactic with Mexico that seems to have been at least partially effective. So to allow him to do those types of things and to do what Trump is good at, and to maybe not focus so much on Epstein, might be beneficial for society, even if it's not politically popular. And it's certainly not popular with the group of people who really want to resolve this massive atrocity that happened amongst the global elite. And believe me, I want to know who's on the list too. Like, I want to at least laugh at him.
Well,
like, you guys are this rich and you needed this much help. Like, come on, man.
Oh man. Well, the thing too that I think is just astounding is the people who continue to associate with him after Epstein was popped for this in Florida and actually had to go to jail. And look, I get it. If you're doing the same bad shit that he's doing, why you'd hang out with him. But why, if there are innocent people in the mix here who were hanging out with him, traveling around, I think that they're almost gluttons for punishment on this. It's like, come on, the guy gets arrested for this. It's public knowledge. He even talked about it in a Vanity Fair article that came out, and yet there were still people who didn't have the sense to stay away. So it does look suspicious. But I also, everybody knows, I believe that we need evidence before we condemn anyone, even before we shame people. And so I don't want the list. If there is a list, and I don't know if there is, but I don't want it to condemn people for being on it. I just don't like the idea that this was something that was dangled in front of Trump's voters, maybe to a degree by him. Donald Trump Jr. was posting about it. Those posts are coming back to haunt him. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino. It's like Pam Bondi. It's like, don't treat your people, your base, like they're idiots and then speak to them with this condescension. But
yeah, that's a bad move. And it's very strange for Trump to do that. Like that's way out of character for him. And who knows what's behind the decision to do that, because he typically has been so popular with his base. He's able to connect with them and realize like what's actually important. And for him to like just from a public relations standpoint, for him to miss this bigly on an issue where it's obvious that this was important and critical to what got him elected. The idea that they were going to come in and open the cans that have been put in the back shelf from government for this long, and we're going to finally get some answers about it, and there's going to be some accountability. And again, going with the whole drain the swamp mantra that he started with back in 2016, is to come out and just disconnect so heavily is actually a little bit odd. And so it makes you wonder what happened. And it raises the specter. Like, did he find out that, like maybe he didn't do anything illegal when he associated with Epstein? However, maybe there's something that makes it look like he did.
Right. That's what I'm betting. Not that I'm saying that it's impossible. Look, I know that there are a ton of men, like Roman Polanski said once, there's a ton of men who have given the opportunity would have sex with an underage woman. I'm not naive about that and whatever, but I also don't, if someone, like I said today to Meghan McCain on her show, if someone put a gun to my head and said, do you think that Trump was having sex with minors? I'd say it's more like, I think he was like what Dick Masterson said. He was probably in that second level of people that were just having affairs and having sex with porn stars and with women, but not necessarily doing what Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were doing with these underage kids. But I don't know.
The sex lives of the rich and famous, and I don't mean the rich and famous, I mean the really rich and famous, is something that regular people can't comprehend. Like you just can't. Like, if Elon Musk wants to sleep with pretty much any tier of woman, he can do it, and he can do it today, and he can do it really quickly, and he doesn't have to pay for it.
He can do it. He can do it today. He can do it really quickly, and he doesn't have to pay for it.
It's because he's Elon Musk, right? Like, like, this guy's worth $300 billion and he's autistic, so he's cool and he will get you whatever you want. Like, that'll just happen. Like, you want a rocket? You want to go into space? I'll put you on space. I'll put you on a ship with Beyonce. You want to go? Like, he can actually make that happen. And he probably wouldn't, but the thought of it is the same with Jeff Bezos, right? Like the same with the Bill Gates. These guys have so much money and power at their disposal at any time. Whatever they want to do, they can do. So whatever they want to promise, they can deliver on. And so that means that if you're going to be with them, even if it's for a night, it's going to be an experience that's different than anything else you'll find anywhere. And just the allure of that is unreal. Right. And but look, I'm a minor podcast celebrity, and I and
your life got pretty colorful for a little while.
It did. But we get soft proposition all the time, like all the time. It happens quite a bit if you're in public, if you're at a public event, and I don't know why. Like, it's just, there's something about any level of celebrity. And so when you take that and you multiply it by 1 billion,
Right.
like the access that they have is unreal. And they also are able to literally insulate. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein bought an island off the
Right.
coast of the United States to go and do something that would be illegal if he was within the borders. And there's questionable legality outside of the United States, but since he was a U.S. citizen, it's not questionable. Don't take that the wrong way, please.
Right.
But,
I
like,
understand what you're saying.
but
But if you're trying to get away with some,
drive up, right?
if you're trying to get away with some shit, then going to the Virgin Islands is going to give you more of a sense of insulation than if you're just down the street or whatever, right? Or where he was in Palm Beach, as it turned out, where he got popped the first time.
Here's the thing: if I had a gate on my driveway, I wouldn't have been arrested. It's that simple, right? Like that's the difference of insulating wealth. Now take that and say I live on a yacht, right? Or I own an island, or Google has those the shipping ships that they've converted into elite party ships, where billionaires go and they have parties on a shipping ship, and the shipping containers are converted into special rooms with different things to do and different activities. And it's Google, so maybe it's nerd stuff like VR headsets, who knows, but it could be literally anything. They're in international waters, there's no accountability, and no one's rating the boat. The level of with Johnny Depp is openly talking about, he's like, yeah, we just sit around, do MDMA. Right. You just have a bag of it.
Yeah.
And you just doing it. I was like, well, me too. But like, he had more. And no one was getting it. Like, if the cops show up, they have to go up to the penthouse. It takes time. He's going to get notified the moment they show up by the front door person. The level of insulation from accountability that happens as you gain wealth and power it's amazing. And so, they have the ability to exploit it. And then to then strip that from them is the most terrifying thing you could possibly have as an ultra wealthy person. All of your misdeeds, legal or otherwise, are suddenly brought to light, and your entire life is based around those not being brought to light. And so, who knows what happened with Trump and why they backed off of it. Maybe they think marinating the situation will be better. I did see someone in the chat say, and Elon Musk chose Amber Turd or whatever. But look, I mean, Amber
was beautiful. No, she and I know she goes through her phases where she's looking a little more rough. She's kind of bloated at the trial, but Amber is top. Let's face it, top 5% of women especially when she's at her best, and also she's got that fiery personality. I have no doubt that she is fireworks instead. We got her bruising up Elon Musk in the sex games apparently, or something. I don't know what was going on with the side of his face here when it was bruised up.
you left bleeding and she was missing fingernails. Like,
oh my gosh, all strung out on Adderall. And wasn't she on Adderall too? I don't know, whatever. But yeah,
you can imagine Elon Musk is a ketamine fiend, and ketamine's really, it's an amazing substance to use in therapeutic clinical settings under the guidance of a registered nurse or doctor. Absolutely. I used it recreationally for a while because of for me, it was the hallucinogenic effects. But I'll say without much detail that ketamine can create an intimate experience that is unmatchable. Like,
really?
Yes, because you're not there. but you're also there.
You're there, but you're not there. No.
And
I know what you mean. It's like, why do people drink? I know drinking is not on par with what you're describing, but people want to get in touch with themselves on another level, or deeper, more primal or something. But do you feel like, though, if he's using it to the degree where he's having bladder problems, that maybe he's going a little too far? I don't know. I just saw that in New York Times.
I haven't heard about the bladder problems. I never encountered that issue with ketamine. The problem with ketamine is if you have to go to the bathroom while you're, like, it's a paralytic. So if you have to go to the bathroom and you have to like get up in the middle of your hallucination, it's tough because you don't walk very well and you're prone to falling, and it takes you a while to get to a bathroom. But as far as like, I'm not aware of the bladder issues. My understanding from him is he says he uses a small amount of ketamine like to stimulate his creativity, and it does. This is unquestionably true. There's a neuroscientist. It's hard to work on these drugs, but there's a neuroscientist who's been using hallucinogens in mice to see how they affect learning. And what's crazy is you have your hallucination, you're high, and then there's this window of time afterwards in which your brain learns like you're a toddler, which means you can learn languages, you can learn music, you can learn art.
Absorb faster. Yeah.
Really. And I've done this as part. It's also why ketamine is useful in therapy, because it allows you to build new connections and get around addictions and stuff like that. So it's
stuck.
It's wild, but it's the most. I think it's the most popular drug in Silicon Valley right now because of what it does for spurring creativity and coming up with alternative solutions to problems that have existed for a long time, and approaching things from different angles. So Musk using it, I think it's really interesting. I think he could be a really good advocate for it, and he needs to be very, very careful that he doesn't overdo it.
Well, I think that he might need to be careful that he doesn't overdo it with the procreation too. I know he's a rich man, but I just wonder how many seeds can you plant before it starts to chip away at your liquidity, dude? I don't know.
His Fiddler on the Roof song is way different than the one from Fiddler, right? If I was a rich man.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Listen, thank you so much for coming on. You actually gave me more time than I even requested. I'm only you have your old friend coming on in about 15 minutes. So I'm going to take a little break so I can get ready for that onslaught.
Who's that?
Ethan Ralph's coming on.
Oh, Ralph?
Yeah. He's coming on to share his wisdom with us about the Epstein Trump thing. But anyway, I want to tell people need to go to your channel. I'm gonna put your Twitter up right now, but it's Rekieta Law. You're on Rumble, right? That's your main thing.
No, now I'm primarily on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I did the Rumble switch for a while. I had a contract with them. They were nice to do business with. I don't know, something happened and they kind of stopped. I don't know what it was.
I can't imagine what it was. I think you need to like sue them or something for breach of contract, right?
No, I was actually, I'd literally signed a contract with them right before getting arrested, but they hadn't signed it yet. So honestly, it was for the best because I wouldn't have been able to produce the content.
Well, that's true. It would have been a burden on you on top of everything else, because you would have tried with that inducement. You would have tried to do it, but it would, Well,
I'd probably be in prison now rather than a free man. So,
well, I'm glad you're here with us. You're definitely doing a lot better, I know, and I appreciate you rushing here. I know you had to rush here to get here, and you texted me on the way and said I'm on my way. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you doing that, and we will talk again. But everybody, check out his channel, Rekieta Law, and I've given the link there to his Twitter. And we will see you later. Thanks so much, Nick.
Keep rocking it. Thanks.